to Super Bowl.
Before we get
everything.
before we get to that, we're asking all of our guests that are that live in and around the Beltway that have some relationship to government.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any classified documents that may have inadvertently been put at your home that you would like to turn over to the National Archives?
Answer the question, Mr. Moore.
I'm going to have to plead the Fifth Amendment on that one. I have a right to remain silent.
Right. All right. We'll
So what do you,
confer with counsel and get back to us.
I mean, what do you think of Vice President Mike Pence, joining the classified documents family? Or do you think he just wanted to be included because it's free publicity and he probably is going to run for president, just like Joe Biden and Trump?
Well, this is quite a scandal that's erupting, no question about it. And the thing that I think is kind of scary about it is that this is actually it really is a kind of national security crisis when you have the president of the United States with these boxes of classified documents, sitting next to his what kind of car was that, a Porsche or something in their driveway?
Corvette.
I mean, but it was but don't forget Joe Biden said that the garage was locked, so nothing to worry about.
The national security crisis is having Joe Biden as commander in chief, but
that's true.
So have you ever been in a skiff, Steve Moore?
A skiff.
Yeah.
What is a skiff?
Oh, you don't know even what a skiff is. That's where you have to go if you're clear to read classified information, like you're a member of Congress.
Oh, I never rose up to that level of authority, so I was a lowly they don't let economists do that kind of thing.
No economists in the skiff. Got it.
Yeah.
All right. No room in the skiff. All right. Let's talk about a couple of other things that are more center cut for you. For example, I thought, correct me if I'm wrong, I thought you and Art Laffer and Larry Kudlow and the 80s and the Laffer curve, I thought that debunked the Phillips curve, that unemployment and inflation have an inverse relationship. And yet we have a Fed that's acting like the Phillips curve is still operable.
So, it's first of all, of course, the Laffer curve, the Phillips curve is a joke. And for people who aren't economists, the Phillips curve is this idea that to bring inflation down, you have to put people out of work. That's nutty. That's a crazy idea. And you're right, Dan, that if you look at the 80s when Reagan was president, what happened? We brought inflation down and unemployment down at the same time. We had low inflation, high growth, and high employment. So this idea that putting people out of work is somehow going to take away inflation is just flawed. And Art Laffer says this best. He said, look, if you have an economy and the economy produces fewer apples, what happens to the price of apples? Oh, the price goes up. If the economy produces more apples because more people are working, what happens to the price of apples? They go down. So it doesn't even make sense, the Phillips curve, on a common sense point of view. You don't have to be a PhD economist to understand this. And you're right that this is the logic that Jerome Powell is using at the Fed, where he's basically saying, we got to drive that unemployment rate up to bring the inflation rate down. And I think that is completely flawed. We need more growth, not less. And I am worried about a recession. I'm not one who thinks it's inevitable, but the economy does show signs of slowing down. But more importantly, what I'm really worried about right now is a genuine financial crisis. Our debt, when I first came to Washington in 1984, straight out of the University of Illinois, the debt was about $1.5 trillion. Now it's $31.5 trillion. Ooh. I'm having a big impact, aren't I, in Washington?
You're doing a heck of a job there.
And without you, it would have been $40 trillion.
Exactly. So the point is, it just keeps going up and up and up. And at some point, there will be a financial crisis if we don't deal with this. Meanwhile, by the way, federal tax revenues, after the Trump tax cut, the 5 years after the tax cut, are as high as they have ever been before. Did you know that? We have record amounts of tax revenue. So we do not have a revenue problem. We have a spending problem. And I got to tell you guys, I got together the other day with one of my favorite senators, which is a low bar, but yes. One of my favorite senators is Rand Paul. And Rand pointed out to me when we were getting together, he said, Steve, if we could just go back to the pre-COVID budget, in 2019, before the COVID crisis hit us and the pandemic hit us, he said, we could just balance the budget. The budget would be balanced if we just went back to what we were spending before COVID. And I said, man, that can't possibly be true. And after the meeting, I went back and looked it up in the budget, and he's right. So balancing the budget really wouldn't be that difficult. We just have to say, okay, COVID is over. We're going to go back to what we were spending 5 years ago. Is that so hard?
I don't know. The 2019, the dark ages. We have to go all the way back to 20.
Exactly.
That was like 20 years ago.
But over that time period, by the way, over that 3 or 4 year period, we have added $7 trillion to the debt. So it can't go on. I mean, this is a locomotive that is headed right over a cliff. And I'm with the Republicans. I say no debt deal, no debt extension until you get some kind of plan to balance the budget. I like what my friend Kevin Hassett says. $3 of spending cuts for every $1 we increase the debt.
Okay, all right.
Like
can you live with that, Dan? I mean,
well, I could live with a lot more than that. But I mean, but then why don't House Republicans? I know McCarthy had the presser last night. He's like, we want to have a sit down and find common ground and all the typical political bromides. Why don't you just propose? Here's where we would cut. Here's our $3 of spending cuts, and here's what we'll give you on the debt ceiling. Just put it out.
Okay, I'm going to slip you an answer, but I don't want to. This is nobody's listening, right? So
right. I'm Connie Chung.
This is an off-the-record radio show, right?
Yes, exactly.
Republicans don't want to cut spending either.
What did you say, Biden?
Yeah, exactly. It's just a rhetorical position. Exactly.
They all love
right,
money.
which is why this is debts. Which is why this is what it's always been: debt ceiling theater. Yeah. Just like we have government shutdown theater around the end of the year.
Yeah, I mean, every once in a while you'll get a senator like a Phil Gramm or a Tom Coburn or a Rand Paul who wants to cut spending, and they're the skunk at the garden party.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. There's some honesty, which is exactly what Kevin McCarthy should say. Even if Kevin McCarthy said, which is probably dishonest for him to say, but he's like, look. We could cut spending, but we just don't want to. We just don't have the numbers to cut spending. So I'm not gonna go through this theater with you and play the typical tit for tat you see with the debt ceiling or with the government shutdown showdown. Yeah. It's all nonsense.
Yeah. Now look, I want to make sure though that your listeners understand one thing, that this hullabaloo and this fear-mongering by President Biden saying, "Oh my God, the Republicans want to default on our debt." Is really, it's, first of all, he says, "Oh, that's going to drive down, up the cost of borrowing." No, I mean, it's the president saying that we're going to default on the debt. What do you think impact that has on people's willingness to buy the debt? And it's a crock. The government is never. You heard it first on the Dan and Amy show. The government is not going to default on the debt. What is going to happen, let's say that we reach a point where they can't reach a deal, which I'd be fine with, and then all of a sudden you reach the debt ceiling, and you know what happens then?
What?
Well, think about it. So what does that mean if we reach the basically the limit? What happens?
We raise the limit.
If you, no. Let's say that you've reached the limit on your credit card,
okay,
and then you go and you try to use your credit card. What happens?
It's denied.
Yeah, it's denied. So you can't, in other words, so if we hit the debt ceiling, all of a sudden Congress can't borrow anymore because there's no more money in the credit card. And then what do you have to do? You can in that case, what you can do is you can only spend what you bring in. Gee, what a concept. So in other words, the government collects revenues every day, payroll tax revenues, income tax revenues, corporate revenues, sales tax revenues, blah, blah, blah. So the government, I kind of like this idea, would automatically require Congress to just simply spend what they bring in and balance the budget.
All right, Stephen Moore, first we had baby formula shortage. Then we have eggs where they're smuggling eggs in from Mexico.
Yes.
And there was a fight at Costco over and there's no eggs anywhere. I go grocery shopping so you guys don't have to. But guess what I found out at the Jewels yesterday? Guess what the new item is that is out? Want to take a guess? Dan?
I don't know.
Moore? Carrots.
What is it?
Carrots.
What?
Carrots.
No.
There's no dear valued customers.
Are you serious?
Due to adverse weather conditions, we are currently experiencing shortages in carrots.
That is the best news I've heard all week.
I love carrots.
Hey,
Shelves are
carrot. I hate carrots.
I've got some worse news for you, Steve. Per the World Economic Forum last week, that hamburger that you're used to eating is going to be made of cricket powder going forward. So I just wanted you
I've
to
had
know.
a cricket powder burger. Those are really scrumptious. I mean, a Big Mac with cricket powder is going to be so
It's
good.
so
with the special
gross.
sauce and all that.
Yeah, it is going to be good.
And by the way, these people that I thought they love wildlife, but they really do want to abolish the cow, not the car, the cow. They want to abolish
Yes.
cows and cars
And people.
because cow flatulence is destroying
ozone.
our environment.
Yeah.
That's right. Steve Moore, economist, Wall Street economist, and author of Govzilla, I should say, author of Govzilla. Steve, thanks as always. Appreciate it.
By the way, is it true? It's snowing there, right? Or it's gonna
Yes,
snow
it
today?
is. It's snowing.
Yeah. Oh, I miss Chicago so much.
Yeah. I'll send
Yeah,
you some in a
right.
jar.
Balmy, Virginia. Yeah.
All right, but at least Lake Michigan is no longer cold. I'm so happy. I
Yeah,
remember
right.
when I used to go into Lake Michigan, I'd come out of Lake Michigan, I'd be blue. Now I'm going to be red hot, right, because of global warming.
Exactly. That's going to be Saint-Tropez in the winter. Yes.
All right, see, it's like a steam bath. All right, see you guys. Bye.
Bye. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
If you're talking about it, Dan and Amy are talking about it. It's Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Exercise more, lose 10 pounds. Tired of New Year's resolutions you can't keep? Here's one you can keep, saving more for retirement. If you're a small business owner, independent professional,